This is an SM Media production.
Hi folks, and welcome to your latest episode of your SM Media Scottish Women's Football Show. I'm Scott McPike. It's a pleasure as always to be your host. You will see that I am riding solo. I do not have Suzanne with me. She will be back on next week. I think she's gutted to miss this one actually. She did tell me that. It's a pleasure to welcome our special guest on this week's episode. It's really good to have on from Heart of Midlothian, Lisa MacFarlane.
Thanks for reaching out. Pleasure to be on.
I'm looking forward to this. It's good to have you on, Lisa. As I say, it's a good time to get you on. Obviously, talk a bit about Hearts and the season so far. It's been a fairly good season in terms of the kind of overall SWPL landscape. It's probably as competitive as it's ever been. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely fair to say. Definitely more competitive. Certainly the last year, I think there was certainly a definite gulf between sort of top and bottom. Whereas this year you're going into games and you're not sure, especially with latest results and who's going to get what, where, and when. So no, it's definitely been more competitive.
It's a big result of the weekend. Obviously beating Partick Thistle, who's kind of looking at kind of fourth place. It's fair. It's obviously now very tight. I think there's three teams that are kind of fairly in the mix. What was that like to get that big result? And again, Katie Lockwood, she's been phenomenal the past few weeks.
Oh, she's been incredible. Honestly, incredible. What a signing. We knew how good she was when she was at Hibs, and we'd sort of looked at her going to Hibs as well, and we just knew how good she was. But until you actually see her on the training pitch, day in, day out, you don't actually realise how good she is. And I think she's elated this week, certainly on social media, that sort of playing in a sort of deeper position, whether that be the 8 and our third man runs, is just coming on massively. And I think we can see that in the last 6 goals she's scored over the last 2 games. So, yeah, she's what an asset to have. And yeah, to beat Partick, wow, like I think that's 10 goals in 2 games against them this season. So, and to only concede 2, because I know that we were struggling with conceding goals at one point. So, yeah, we see them as a direct rival in the league, and they certainly are. And we know them, they're stuffy, they're aggressive, they want to be physical, and that's their game, whereas we want to get the ball and get down and moving. So the contrast in that to then come away with a very good convincing win was great. It was great, and the girls were in good spirits at the end of the game. So
Brilliant. What about the kind of the overall kind of season so far? Are you kind of happy with the start you've made? There's a room for improvement. What would you kind of say so far?
Yeah, definitely room for improvement. I think we are there and thereabouts. We'll have to be realistic. We're only halfway through. We've got plenty of games to go. We've predominantly played the top sort of teams, more so. So I think the way we've competed against certainly the top 3, top 4 has been great. We've done pretty well. We've gave a good account of ourselves, but I think moving on, we'll need to sort of stretch on and strive on and achieve better results. Certainly the Montrose one sticks out, 3-3. We could have probably scored in the last minute as well. So that was a real one where, and it's no disrespect to Montrose at all, they're doing fantastic having come up, but
Yeah.
I think it's one that we look at and say, right, okay, that was a turning point, because after that we really started working on defence, prevent conceding goals, and actually taking our chances. And I think we've seen that, and certainly against Motherwell, Hamilton and Partick, the goals that we've scored. So yeah, so it's been a good season, but definitely room for improvement.
Yeah, I'll kind of get your thoughts on the kind of overall squad kind of later on, and obviously Eva and things like that, because I kind of want to ask you a few questions about that. But it was obviously a busy weekend in the SWPL. We saw the return of Jane Ross as well for Rangers. 508 days since she last played, and she comes back in, scores a goal, and that's typical Jane Ross, isn't it? It's just straight in, makes an impression, and brilliant to see her back though as well.
Oh, it's fantastic. Like, and what a player to bring back. It's not as if they're good enough as it is, eh? And then they bring her back. So, yeah, what an asset to have, not even just on the pitch, I bet you around the changing room.
Yeah.
She's the experience that she has and what she can bring. And you know that she's a goal scorer. You know she's going to be there, and she's one that you're going to have to pick up. But no, what a great player. And Rangers are starting to bring in a good player, a lot of youth through. So for her to come back at that time and be around the training pitch is great. It must be great for them as well. to have that shoulder to lean on and learn from and stuff. So no, dead happy for her. Really, really happy for her.
Really good to see her back as well. In Queen's Park in SWPL 2, they made a massive statement. They won 1-0 away at Kilmarnock. Brilliant result for them. Monica Harty scoring against her old club as well. Queen's Park, they're 10 points clear. They look a side who could be big players next season.
Yeah, they do. They'll do. They look very convincing. We actually played Kilmarnock in a closed door friendly a few weeks ago, and they were a good outfit. So to go away and we're convincing win like that, and to get the 3 points that they needed was fantastic for them. So yeah, they look like they're out and out runners to get promoted. So we'll wait and see.
And there's news developing now. We have to say that there's no official news on this, so we are just talking about pure speculation. But chatting the past few weeks about Celtic manager Fran Alonso gathering interest. We've heard news of potentially Mexico and America. Lisa, this is obviously, we see it in every league in world football. When a manager does really well, they gather interest from other clubs. What does it say about the job he's done at Celtic to be subject, especially the American interest, which I looked at today and I thought that's a massive, massive opportunity if that was to come up. But it says a lot about what he's done at Celtic since he's been in.
Yeah, massive. There's no two ways about it. He's done a fantastic job coming in with the player turnover. I think he's had an 8-player turnover every year he's been in as well. So to be able to deal with that in a club, what they've done in terms of playing at Celtic Park as regularly as they can, the results, the convincing results they're getting, especially the latest one against Glasgow City, is a real statement, an intent of where they're going to go. In terms of Fran, don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think he wants to win that league. I think once he's won the league, I would suggest move him. But until that point, I think he's convinced he's going to stomp his heels into the ground and make sure he wins that league. But what a statement from America to hear. If that's the potential, then think about Emma Hayes going over and being the national team coach. That for him to go over and potentially be in that league as well, it's massive. You know how good the talent is over there, the world champions. So yeah, massive.
What as well? Like you said something interesting there about dig his heels in. You can obviously see his passion. Like you'll know kind of better than me, kind of being around him at games and things like that. But he seems to have such a bond with his players and such a bond for the football club. Like the AGM, we were covering Celtic's AGM a few weeks ago, and he just has this aura about him that I don't think you see very often in Scottish football. Kind of both men and women. Like he's just such a passionate guy. And that
Yeah, he's a colourful character.
Yeah.
He's a colourful character as our Fran. But no, listen, we need that in this league. We need that passion, and it shows and it tells the players how much he wants it and how much he wants them to succeed, and that'll transfer to them. And it just shows you with the amount of goals they're scoring. They're happy, they're content on the pitch, they know what they're doing, they're well drilled. You know what you're going to get for Celtic. Athleticism, runners, work hard, movement off the ball. And that comes from passion, and that'll be relayed from him, his passion onto them. And they're doing so well, and that's solely the reason for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's obviously something to keep an eye on. If there's developments, obviously you'll find out what's going on. But we did have some Nations League matches to talk about as well. Now we spoke about it. Myself and Suzanne spoke about this last time we did the show, and we were talking about the big golf that will be with England, and I'll get into England in a minute. But the two overall the campaign, what's your kind of overall thoughts on? It's a big disappointment finishing bottom, but is there positives to take before we get into talk about the England game?
Yeah, I think there is. I think in particular the 3 away games, I think we showed real aggression, real willingness to press high. We created a lot of chances and we competed really, really well. Albeit the Netherlands game was 4-0, but if you actually watch the game, we competed really well. We had chances, So, and you know what? I think the squad are going through a real transitional phase. If you see the players coming through, you're also missing big players like Caroline Weir. You were missing Erin at some points, but seeing players like Lauren Davison, she's very young. You've got Kirsty McLean, very young. So it's going through a bit of a transition phase. And listen, it was a tough group. These players are playing at the top level, So the way they competed, I think they should be proud of themselves, especially in the away games. There's certainly room for development. And Pedro knows that. He knows that. But I think it's good to show that we can essentially compete at that level. That we're just not quite there yet. So.
What about, you mentioned Erin there, and I thought the kind of overall takeaway from both the Belgium away game and the England game was Erin just looked like she could handle it, no bother. Now that I thought you're coming up against an England team that are, I mean, they're so good, aren't they? I mean, they've got such depth, they've got
Yeah.
so many good players. But I thought with Erin in particular, and I thought like the kind of, we'll get into Pedro in a minute, but I thought at time, like sometimes, how do you stand up against that England side when you've, because they obviously tried the three at the back in the England game and it didn't work for a while, but there's not much you can do in that situation because they are such a threat going forward.
Yeah, and they were missing players as well. We
Yeah.
need to remember they weren't even full strength. So, the team selection he picked, I think that he certainly went for experience. He went for as much experience as possible, which against a team like that you need to, and you know that they were going to go gung ho at us, because they needed the goals. But I just think that type of game with Erin, you need more experience in terms of Caroline Weir and maybe even Kirsty McLean, who's composed on the ball. I know he went for experience, but I just think that a wee bit of fresh legs in her, Kirsty McLean, could have helped. And that would have allowed Erin to get further more. It would have allowed Kirsty Hansen and Claire Emsley to get on a bit more because I felt like they were dropping far too deep. And it just allowed the pressure to come onto us. So I just think as soon as it kicked off, we were really struggling because we were sitting back too much.
I saw Pedro getting a bit of criticism, and I did think it was unfair. What's your kind of overall thoughts on that? I do think he's the right man. I do think we're in the middle of a transitional period, but I do like. I've liked what I've seen so far, but as you say, I think it is going to take a bit of time till he gets it tip top.
Yeah, I think, as I say, in terms of players, it's going through a transitional phase. I think there's a lot of players that are probably nearing the end of their sort of career in terms of international football. But at one point, when he first came in, I thought, "Oh, what's he trying to do in terms of on the pitch? How's he trying to play?" I couldn't really understand what he was trying to do, but I think over the sort of last year, you can see what he's trying to do. Sort of setting a formation, he knows what he's trying to do. So yeah, hopefully they progress and he cements what he wants to do a wee bit more. And he's just been really, really unfortunate with some injuries he's had as well. So especially like Emma Watson as well, a big player that's been left out. So, but yeah, I think if we stick, then hopefully the future is bright.
From kind of when you kind of started getting involved in the game to now, just what has the progression been like, and what has it kind of been down to? Because there's been such big developments even in the past couple of years. But I'm thinking kind of more like from when you started kind of getting involved in the game, what you kind of noticed been the big development since then?
Probably just money and sponsorship and media. And to be honest, I always wind the players up and said I used to get socks that weren't matching and shirts that were down to my knees. So it's to see the game developing, how it's been shown on TV, how people are investing, media, clubs. It's just been fantastic, and I think that there's a real belief now, and it's certainly spurred on since England won the Euros. That's been for me the tipping point. That's been where we've seen a real change in women's football, and certainly at Hearts, the development. I've been there for 5 years, and development from where it was to where it is now is unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable, and it's great to see. And it's nice to see other clubs doing that as well, like Hibs and Aberdeen. You can see they're trying to really invest in the clubs as well. So no, to be honest, I think there's a real influence, and coaches now are seeing, oh, actually, do you know what? This could be a real development opportunity, a place to be, and everybody's throwing everything at it, and it seems to be working out really well.
What was like when Anne Budge obviously took over, and she was very vocal from the start. She wanted to kind of further integrate the women's team in with the men's team. How important has she been to the kind of development of Hearts? And like since then, has it just been like a rapid progression each year?
Yeah, 100%. She's been honestly fantastic. Like, there's no two ways about it. Her chief exec, Andrew McKinley, sporting director, Joe Savage, they've all been fantastic and at the forefront of the progression of the women's side of the game. And certainly we're in Oriam training with the men's side, the B team, we're integrated. We use the same facilities, we use the same staff in terms of sort of nutritionists, psychologists, and everything. So it's really, really good. She's been really influential, and Eva's quite quick to ask for things, and thankfully Mrs. Budge has been pretty accepting and allowing things to happen. But no, she's been great, and been to the games, speak to the players, come to events and stuff like that, and yeah, really, really influential, and understands where the game's going. I think that's the most important thing, and you can't be left behind. And I think at points we can see in this league teams that will be left behind if there's sort of no more investment. But yeah, we've been really, really fortunate in how much she's wanting to progress the club. So it's good.
You mentioned there the Orium, and this fascinating because we've actually just spoke about this in another show about the Scotland only massive fans of the Orium. I've heard nothing but good things about it since it's been in. Has it been a massive kind of improvement to what like back in the day and things like that? Like how good a kind of complex is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a performance complex, so it's got everything that you need. It's got everything for pre, during, and post. So you can't really go wrong, you know. So it's we've got our own sort of area, the Hearts area. So yeah, it's good. We're segregated from the Oriam's main facility, but we still use their facilities in terms of their pitch and their gym and everything like that. But yeah, it's performance. And listen, SRU are there. Lots of different teams and sports and things use it at the top level. So it's great. The girls love it, the players love it, the staff love it. So yeah, it's good. It's a good facility.
How impressed have you been with Eva since she came in, and what's she kind of like in the dressing room? What's she like in the training ground? I'm fascinated because I've always been impressed with her any time I've seen her.
Yeah, I don't think she gives too much away, but in the changing room, certainly to us, you see sort of two sides. You know she's a manager. You don't mess with her. So, yeah, you know she's a manager, but she's got an absolute heart of gold, and I think the players know that they can speak to her at any point. However, they know not to get in the wrong side they are. So I think she's got a really, really good balance. Credit to her to come over to the country, not have any family, friends, not even a place to live, for her to come over and to adapt the way she has, to settle in the way she has, has been honestly fantastic, and it's great to see. And I think each year at the start of the season we sit as a staff group and we set an objective, and she's met it every year. So here's hoping we do it this year as well. But no, she's a great character. She shows every emotion. If she's emotional, she'll show it. If she's happy, she'll show it. If she's angry, you'll know. So yeah, she's a great character to know.
Is she someone as well that could go to the top level? Like, is she that good? Is she kind
100%.
of that good a coach?
She's a perfectionist, absolute perfectionist. So I think she takes real good care of herself as a person. Like she always gets her hair and nails done. But I think that shows that if she presents herself well, she presents herself well in every aspect of her life, whether that's her job, her house, everything like that. So yeah, she comes in and she works her socks off. It was documented that she wasn't well last year at one point, and she had a small operation. She missed a game. She was at us all game, texting, phoning, trying to get in touch. So like trying to get to the game, but we were obviously just like, no, you're bed bound. So she's an absolute perfection. I think the players can see that as well. And when we win, lose or draw, they'll know, and it transpires. And she's a great character to have around. Great person.
I know, obviously Gavin Beath came in as well, and I want to ask about him. Like, what's he kind of brought as well? Because obviously he's a really experienced head, but he must have brought a real impact as well since he's been there.
Yeah, and not just for the players, for Eva. I think she's learning loads from him as well. He's obviously a professional football background, played for Dundee, so to be able to play at that top level and coach what he's brought in a real technical and tactical ability that's challenged Eva, and they've bounced really well off each other. The players go to Gav a lot now in terms of individual feedback. So he's really good at that. So that's a role he's taken on as well. So he's settled in greatly. He's a really good character to have around. He's funny. He's a good assistant coach to have. So yeah, he's settled in brilliant.
What about the squad as well? Like, a lot of players have got, like, you've got an international in there in Ciara Grant. There's a lot of really exciting players. Like, I hear a lot of positives about a lot of players in the squad. How good is the kind of chemistry and ability in that squad?
Yeah, really, really good. A lot of them are from Glasgow, so they travel through together. But as soon as they come through, I think they spend too much time in the car, so then they go to other people, and they integrate really, really well. We all have food together post training, and everybody mixes. There's no cliques. There's nothing negative I would say about it. Everybody likes to get on, and I think, to be honest, I think you can see it on the pitch. I think that we play good football, and I think that transpires from everybody understanding each other. It's obviously, it takes time with new players coming in and stuff, but everybody, I think, now knows their role as a player, and you can see that, and I think that helps create the bond even better. So no, everyone's doing really, really well.
What about yourself? Like, you've obviously had a kind of busy job. You've obviously got a very busy job and things like that. Like, what's your kind of thoughts and kind of your journey in the game, and what's been kind of the standout thing since you've kind of started getting involved, and what kind of would you say was your kind of highlight so far?
I mean, I started off just helping out on a Sunday 5 years ago to help set up the pitch for the warm up and stuff. So to then develop, and I think, to be honest, I think it was potentially Andy Kirk's season. He sort of grabbed me with two hands and said, "I need you to step up and help me." So, and that's where I've seen the real progression in stepping into the operations role, and being a point of contact for everybody. I just love it. I just absolutely love being a part of this club, and I'm a Hearts fan. I grew up a Hearts fan. My whole family are. So to be part of the club and seeing the progression, not just in the women's side but in the men's side as well, it's really, really good to see. I love being part of the club, that knowing that everybody's on the same page and they all want to go in the right direction. Because back when I first started, it was very much, right, okay, let's try and get this, and if we can't get it, okay, we just need to deal with it, and things like that. And we just play Sunday to Sunday, Sunday, whereas now we can say, right, we've now got a head of recruitment and Sean Burt. So that shows real intent where the club wants to go, and it's just fantastic. And it was something that we need to keep striving to achieve and want more, and progress as a club, so we can hopefully then challenge the top three and win trophies.
And is it like the league? Like we mentioned, obviously about the kind of media exposure and the kind of, as you say, the improvement in finances. That where do you see the SWPL in 5 years, for example? Because I don't think a lot of people would have thought would be talk about the SWPL being on Sky and having a multi-million sponsorship deal. I mean, it's in such a good place now. It's only going to get better, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, incredibly better. And I actually think that there'll be less of a gulf as well, sort of between the top and bottom six. It'll be so much more competitive. The resources that they'll then be given, the league, like Fiona McIntyre's doing a great job.
Yeah.
The role that she's doing, and all her staff, the amount of hours I can only imagine they're putting in to getting all this in place. Sky Sports, BBC Alba, BBC Scotland, the coverage is fantastic, and it's get to the point now where we're like, right, let's get more. We want more, So, and the teams, when I have no doubt, the teams, every team, if they think, even if they think they're going to win, lose, or draw, they're going to want to be on telly for the exposure. And it is, and you're right, it is only going to go one way. And I think you can see that in terms of the players that are coming to this league as well. They're not underestimating this league. They're actually coming and going, oh, this league is actually a really competitive league, and want to be a part of it, which is great. And also developing players through the youth ranks and then pushing them on to WSL or America and things like that. And seeing our league producing these players like Erin Cuthbert then being at Rangers and going to Chelsea, So, yeah, and I think it's only going to go upwards and upwards. So it's great. It's really, really great to be a part of.
Excellent. Well, final question before we wrap the show, Lisa. A big game on Sunday, Hearts versus Celtic. What's the overall thoughts going into that, and what's the preparation?
Stop Caitlin Hayes heading in the ball as the preparation. No, in all seriousness, the last game we were obviously 2-0 up in the first 20, and we eventually lost the game 3-2, but I think we can compete. I think we've got a real belief in the squad. I think we can compete, and I think we'll go out there to really go at them. I think they're under no illusions as well. We know how good they are. We know how good they are. We know what they're going to set up like. We know what their team's going to be, 90% anyway. So, and listen, they're going to come out and come at us as well, because they need the points and they need to keep competing with Rangers and Glasgow City. So, Let's hope for points. Let's hope for points. That's what I'm going to go with. Let's hope for a draw, at least.
Brilliant. Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure to be on the show. Thank you very much, and best of luck for the rest of the season and the future at Hearts.
Appreciate it. Thanks so
Brilliant.
much.
Thank you.